Mal, and you've chosen the EU referendum, which is still ongoing. When they originally announced the date, I thought, how on earth are we going to keep this interesting for 4 months? And I think we're 1 month down, but we've still got it's a long way to go on this, isn't it?
It is. And John Major's in the Telegraph today saying that Brexit would be a disaster for Britain. Actually, I think that this whole thing will be decided on emotion in the end. I think people want to vote with their heads, but it's difficult when you know so little about the real issues at stake here. And it'll come down to what we feel about our future, the future of the EU. And I suspect that barring any wildcard event like a terrorist attack or another financial meltdown, people will go for the status quo. I think that when
because we're afraid.
Because people are talking fear. Yeah. And whenever fear is the dominant subject, people will go for what they know. So unless the nation's under existential threat, and it's not, unless we're in a war, for example, people will go for the status quo. And I also think people like to feel proactive. They like to feel future-friendly. We don't like to feel regressive. And I think a vote for exit, for some people, many people, would feel like a backward step. And let's not forget, David, too, that patriotism now doesn't feature anywhere near as it did 40 years ago.
That's such a perceptive comment, because I read something a long time ago that was the Prime Minister's judgment, that people would bank on the would stick with the status quo. That was what he was banking on, because we don't like the idea of change. Have you, and I don't expect you either to declare, but have you made up your mind?
I haven't, no, and I'm enjoying listening to the arguments, to be honest. And I think it's a good point you make there, Mal, about the fear, because I think there's something in the timing of this referendum as well. So if we have a look at the migrant crisis, which actually did put fear into people's hearts, and the time of this referendum is going to come at that peak summer time where you've got masses more people coming across the Med, arriving in Europe and on our doorstep. And whether or not that will fuel that fear for people to say, let's get out of this, or we're stronger in. So I think there's a lot to unfold just yet.
Have you made up your mind yet?
Well, I'm sort of two minds, really, to be honest. My heart, I'm a Europhile. But my head says there's a problem with ever closer union. And I don't trust the EU when it says you don't want to worry about that. We've given up on that. I don't think they have. A few years ago, you remember France, Italy, Netherlands said no to a referendum on part of the treaty, and the EU ignored it anyway. So I'm not sure we trust the EU. And I think a lot of people are in the same situation. But I think at the end of the day, it will be emotion that wins out. I really do. I don't think that... I think we're proud of our heritage and we're passionate about it. But we live in a globalised age, a digitised age. You know, our smartphones have news from all over the world all the time. I don't think people want emotionally to take a backward step.
I've got huge respect for anybody who is committed to one view or another, because it is fiendishly difficult to understand the arguments.